Hello and happy Thursday. Another video. I am trying so hard to get this centered correctly. I hope that this works out. It's difficult. For those of you who have been here before, hello. For those of you that are new, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Um, Today I want to talk about, hold on one second. Today I want to talk about how do you show up for other people? How do you show up? We all have friends. And by the way, let me give this disclosure real quick. Where's my hands? There's one. I'm gonna have to adjust this. I'm gonna worry about it later. I want to give a disclosure about the live videos. So I pre-record some videos, but I feel like the live ones are more effective. They're more authentic and they're more genuine. And that is me. That is how I am. Some people can say transparent. Some people say tell it like it is. True, true, and true. All of it. So I want to let you know that right from the start. And those of you that have been watching my videos, you definitely know that about me. So I feel like it's a good thing. So today I want to talk about how do you hold space for other people? Um, how do you show up for others? How do you listen effectively? That is a problem. Not for me, but I have to say, I haven't always been a good listener. I'm a talker. Uh, I think that, I was taught not to interrupt. And I mean, Lord forbid if I ever interrupted in my childhood when an authoritative figure was speaking, just consider your consider yourself dead. So you listen, you pay attention, and you didn't look down. You looked someone in the eyes, which brings me to, when I was in corporate America and I was training with some really cool people. And the one gal, we shared the same title. I was training for, her, basically she was training me for the title I was coming in at, which was management, middle management, which is the hardest in a company, in a corporation, a big corporation. Not that this one was really huge, but anyway, she told me that when she first met me, that um, she knew I was truthful. And I was like, how do you know that? And she said, because you have a death stare. You lock in on the person who is talking to you and you're genuine about it. And I thought, at the time, I just thought, well, it's a good observation. Now I look back and I say, wow, it's a really nice compliment that somebody noticed that I have genuine focus on the person who's in front of me, that I consider what they are saying. This is, let me go right here. So I consider what they are saying to me and whether I agree with them or not. And this is about holding space. This is how we hold space for others. You maybe let me back up. Most people in our communication styles that we have, most people are waiting for their turn. Their turn. Where's my, here we go. Their turn to speak. They're not really engaging on what you have to say. They're just waiting to, or the me too, me too. Oh, yeah, I know. I do that too. Blah, 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 blah. In some contexts, that's okay to say, hey, yeah, me too. Then it's like a warm sort of bonding experience the two of you are having together in your conversation. In other arenas, the me too, me too, me too, they almost seem like one-uppers. Have you ever met a one-upper? I'm sure every single one of you out there has met or experienced a one-upper at one time or another in your life. I grew up with a one-upper, and it wasn't a sibling. I'll just say somebody in my family was a complete competitive one-upper. If you said that you went on a hike, they said they took their high heels off and they hiked in their nylons. That's a true story. Not true of the person who did it, but they said that. I mentioned where I was hiking that day, and I was told I did that with, after work, took my high heels off and went in my nylons. And I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me that. It's kind of like what I'm talking about today, holding your space. Whether you agree with the person or not, whether we agree that, maybe you think this person is full of, dog poop. This this person is completely in left field and what they're telling you, and you know that what they're saying is untruthful, and yet, oh, oh, wow, that's interesting. Uh, how do we deal with people like that? Well, we don't. We do just what I just showed you. And I'll go back to the corporate America, which, thank the Lord, I'm not in that. That's dodging a huge bullet for me. Uh, Many times in our lives, we do things when we're not ready. We jump. Have you ever stood at a swimming pool? I grew up in, my summers were in Wyoming at my family's ranch, where my dad grew up in Thermopolis, Wyoming. Shout out to Thermopolis. Shout out to the Buffaloes. Um, so I was very blessed to have a summer of um, spending it with my father. Sometimes my sibling would go with us. Most of the time, my sibling would go with us, but then later, he's 7 years older than me, so he had things to do. So our friends own the Star Plunge in Thermopolis, Wyoming. If you've never been to the Star Plunge in Thermopolis, Wyoming, I highly recommend that you go there. And my dad was a really good friend of the owner at the time. I don't know who owns it now. But anyway, I was always afraid of heights a little bit, and scared of consequences. If I jump, what's going to happen to me? This doesn't look safe. If I jump in, what's going to go wrong? I don't know. Could I hurt myself? What if I did a belly flop and I really hurt myself? So one day, I think I was probably 11, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to jump. I'm going to go climb up that high dive ladder at the Star Plunge in Thermopolis, Wyoming, and I'm going to jump off that diving board. And I jumped. And you know what? It was okay. I was fine. Pretty soon, that jump was no big deal. I faced my fear and I just did it. It was like ripping off the Band-Aid. I mentioned this in my video the other day about ripping off the Band-Aid. Sometimes you just have to do it. And I think that our biggest successes in our lives are from not being ready to do it. We just did it. What could go wrong? Maybe something could go right. Maybe that's more of a, incentive to think back on things that we've done that we, didn't really think would work out. So back to holding space for, our friends and people, our loved ones and our friends. We have different titles throughout our friendships. Maybe we have, a friendship with somebody, and the majority of the time you listen to what they have to say about their life, and there's not a lot of reciprocation. These are friends that I would consider friends, but not good friends. So how do we show up for other people? And maybe that friend is showing up in the best way they know how at the time, and that's okay. We have different types of people in our life, different levels of friendships, kind of like an onion. We have different layers through our friendships. So I have two best friends, one of 31 years, one of 32, and actually posted a video last weekend of Shelly, who actually is married to my cousin Marco. So it's just a cherry on top. She's my soul sister. She's not even like a best friend. She's like a sister to me. So it's a bonus. She's also family. but I consider her dear and near to my heart. And um, so the question is, how do you show up for people? And you have different levels of people, like different levels of relationships and friendships in your life. And to be an effective listener, one of the things I think people make a mistake when they listen to other people is they want to solve the problem for them. They want to fix them. And, my job as a life coach, I am not fixing people. They're already whole when they come to me. They already have they already have the elements of success within them, and they have the talents and they have the abilities to engage in a more productive life. And they're stuck. They don't know how. And this is what I do. This is what I do. And I've been doing it. I worked in behavioral health, about 15 years ago. I worked in behavioral health and worked with people with, clinical depression and uh, substance abuse, which I was not good at. I was good at listening to them, but I wasn't good at that. Because I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke, and I don't do drugs. I guess you could say I do a drug. It's coffee, so caffeine, which I'm really trying just to limit myself on. But I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. So for me to sit in front of somebody who has a substance abuse problem, I'm probably not a good fit for them. So I actually worked more with people, funny enough, agoraphobia, people who wouldn't leave their home. And where I worked, we had there was a church next to us, and there was like a courtyard. And so we would set up all these chairs and invite these people to come out of their home. And this like 15 years ago. People, agoraphobia wasn't something that people talked about. Funny enough, Paula Deen, if anyone remembers her, and I have a letter from her because I sent one of my recipes into her when I was catering and, did that. And then she got kicked off the Food Channel, and I see she's back on there now. But anyway, she had agoraphobia. I read her biography. She had agoraphobia, and her sons would deliver the goodies to people on their lunch break. And I remember my dad always saying that to me when I was catering. He's like, why don't you just go hang out in Everett, which is a city near where I live? And he would say, why don't you just, give out your cookies and things like that at lunch break? And I'm like, no, Dad, I'm not going to stand on a corner and peddle my stuff. Which maybe it was a good idea, but I was not going to do that. So anyway, I worked with people who had agoraphobia and clinical depression. I worked in group therapy and things of that nature. So a lot of my job was listening. It's therapeutic, what I was doing. So therapists don't have the answers for people. Therapists don't have the answers. They can give you a different perspective. And that is a useful, life-changing tool to give somebody in their toolbox that they come in with. I use it as a metaphor. Their toolbox, they come in and maybe it's empty, but you can leave with such and such and such. When you're doing therapy or when you're doing life coaching, when you're talking to a friend, when you're with your husband or wife, whoever you're with, you're co-creating something. You're co-creating, like, your relationships. That's what you're doing. So, when you don't agree with somebody, say you're talking to someone, you guys are chit-chatting, and they say something that's completely different than your values, completely different than what you believe in, how do you respond to that? My first response to it is just to say, oh, okay. I'm not agreeing with them. I'm considering what they're saying, but I'm not agreeing with them. You don't have to agree with people or disagree. You don't have to take into consideration anything more than what they are saying to you. And sometimes when I don't understand where a person's coming from, I will say, um, tell me why you think like that. And this gives the other person, not why do you think like that. That is setting you up for confrontation, argument, whatever. Tell me why you think that way, whatever the conversation is you're having. That gives the person a chance to explain to you where they're coming from. You may have a perception that they're coming from, you know, like XYZ, and they're actually coming from this one. And then when they tell you, because sometimes in our minds we assume certain things that people are saying and we sort of dissect it in our heads while they're talking instead of taking in what they're saying. And we can come to a conclusion or an assumption that's completely in left field. And so when to clarify, you ask them, tell me why you think like that. And really be interested, you know, really be authentic and genuine and truthful. We have different friendships, we show our different sides of ourselves. I have friends that call me a powerhouse. I have friends that call me intimidating to others. I have friends that call me, tell it like it is. That's Nancy. But it depends on who I am with and if I feel safe and comfortable to be myself around them. And so when I say, how do you show up for other people? What I'm saying is, how do you show up? Do you listen? Do you ask your friends how they are doing and genuinely give a crap? Genuinely care how they're doing? Or are you just going through the motions? How you doing? Oh, good, fine. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I think that the most real and raw responses to the people that we are closest to when they ask how you're doing and you might be having a bad day, sit there and tell them the truth if you feel comfortable enough with that person. I can count on one hand the people I feel comfortable enough to tell, my inner thoughts or how I'm really feeling. Some people have never seen a side of me like that. And I think it's because we don't feel safe around them. We don't trust them enough. And we don't have a relationship with them where we can be ourselves. And now, later, I'm turning 50 in June. Later, as we get older, we are not as wounded personally as we were when we were younger versions of ourselves. And, I had, in my adolescent years, I went to 3 different high schools. And it was very difficult for me because I was extremely introverted. People thought I was extroverted. I'm actually a very introverted individual. And it was hard for me to adapt to making new friends, which, people would say, what? You're so outgoing, you're so funny, you're so this, you're that. I had to work at that. I had to really muster up the courage to form friendships. And as soon as I formed a friendship or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, I would get moved to another high school. And, I'm sure all of you can relate that high school and middle school were, some very formative and tough years for some people. I was always a very popular individual. My grandma would tell everybody, my grandma Mavis, she would tell everyone who would listen about everything I was doing. Nancy was the spelling bee champion and blah, blah. And I'd be like, Grandma, don't, because it sounds like bragging. You don't want that, especially when you're forming friendships. You don't want them to think that you're some, cock of the walk or whatever. people don't want that. But anyway, I managed to make friends pretty easy. But then there were some girls in particular. My best friends in high school were boys, and I wasn't a tomboy. They had no drama. They were no drama. They were fun. They didn't want anything out of me but just to hang out with me, be my friend, not cutthroat like girls were. Not to say I didn't have some great girlfriends in high school as well. I sure did. I did. I had some great girlfriends in school, but there tend to be a lot of gossip. I can't stand it. I can't stand who said what and where. I didn't have time for it when I was 16. I don't have time. I definitely don't have time for it now. And so I think that those younger years form us. And I think that because I was kind of bullied in one particular high school, and I do remember their names. Oh, Lord, do I remember. Two girls in particular. And it's because I came in as a freshman. I dated a senior. His ex-girlfriend wanted to make my life hell, and she did everything she could with her little friends to do that. And I mean, I remember another friend of mine when I was leaving that school, my other friend who was older than me, she came with me to that school to get my stuff, my locker stuff, whatever. She drove, so she was older than me. That was right before my sophomore year, and she was a big force. She was a powerhouse, and I wasn't. And she was there to kind of protect me like little sister, and and she was great. Um, but anyway, these younger years sort of make us put up walls, and we can't show up for people exactly how we should or can, or whatever the situation is. And sometimes when your friends are telling you something, the best thing you can do is not try to fix their problem, not try to fix them, whatever the case is. You just need to let them be themselves and be there for them. You know, I have a great support system in my life. I have great people in my life. I have amazing people in my life. And it's wonderful support, but you know what? Even if I didn't have those people, I would still be okay. I would still be okay with myself and how I feel about life in general. The happiness I feel when I'm alone. Like today, I have the day to myself, sort of. Sort of have the day to myself. Right now, in this moment, I have the day to myself. After I'm done with this video, no. The rest of the day is filled up. But anyway, I'm enjoying the time that I have to just be still and make my plan for tomorrow. And I've done a daily to-do list since I was probably 10 years old, writing down what I was going to do. Not all of it gets done. I've done a video on this before as well, but I sure strive to get as much done as I can. And if I don't get everything done, I'm not hard on myself. I'm not going to beat myself up. In fact, when I hear other people say they beat themselves up, I don't get it. I don't understand that you're not giving yourself grace, and you're not giving yourself compassion. You're not giving yourself compassion. The same compassion and grace and respect that you give to others, you should be already giving that to yourself. So I'm going to end this on that note. I'm going to, I reach into my little daily affirmation box. It's a ceramic box, and it's positive affirmations actually. And I've been pulling the cards just like after I do this video, and I am going to take a sip because most people don't make it to the end of this video, so this won't bother people. I drink a ton of water, and I just have to have it. So today I pulled this card. I didn't look at the box. I just reach in and pull it. So here is the card for today. Oh, well, this is very this is in alignment with a lot of things. Let's see, can you see it? Your energy is your greatest asset. Make sure I don't cover up that ET there. All right. And then the other one I wanted to do, I haven't opened this. I got this, I talked about this in my last video. I got this box from a group of people I worked with. When I was leaving training with them, they gave me this, a ton of, like a goodie bag. They were so awesome. And I wish I could say who they were, but I can't. So I'll just leave it at that. And so this is one of the cards out of the box, which I have not actually opened up yet. It's a You're Awesome. Oops, this way. You're Awesome. Let's see what this one says. This is fun. It's a surprise. Oh, this is great. There is only one you in all time. Martha Graham. Oops, can you see? There's only one you. There's only one you in all time. I love that. I've had people say, thank God there's only one of you, Nancy. I don't know if anyone else has had that in their lifetime, but I had a quick story here. I always share my story. And it's at the end of the video, so people who actually watch my whole video, they get to hear a lot of fun stuff. So when I was 3 years old, there was a really busy hill. It was in Mill Creek, 164th. My Aunt Barb and Uncle Marco lived on that street. And I was kind of an escape artist. I didn't conform to what I was told to do. In a sense of following rules, I completely did that. But when I had a little bit of curiosity in me when I was a kid. So anyway, I disappeared from my aunt's backyard. Well, her and my mother were drinking. And so, I mean, allegedly, let me say that because who knows. And that's what I was told by my Aunt Barb, who's no longer with us here. But I recall her saying that. And that makes sense. That's nobody was paying attention. They were having cocktails. So anyway, there was a neighbor named Harold. I don't remember his last name. Probably good I don't say it, but anyway, and he's probably not even here anymore. He was super old when I was 3 years old. So I remember bumping into him later. Maybe that was when I was like 3. I escaped on a very busy highway, and anyway, they found me. But Harold said that I was going to be the reason he was going to have a heart attack and die. And he was glad there was only one of me. So this is kind of a funny story with today's card on that. So with that, I want to thank you for being here. Remember what I am, my message is, and my message is always to hopefully inspire somebody to turn a different direction or apply what I have said to them. My job as a life coach is, people say, is that your passion? I believe, yes, it is my passion. And I believe that we all have a certain purpose and a reason for being here. And yeah, so if you don't know what your purpose is, might want to find that. And also, how you show up for others is how the best of them will show up for you. And not to say that some people aren't great or whatever, but some people just aren't capable for, not everybody, like today's daily post, I said about expectations. We have to stop expecting ourselves out of other people, because not everybody is in alignment with what we are in alignment, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no right or wrong. It's really all preference. We can kind of pick our circle, and our circle, as a friend of mine was saying lately, a friend of mine was telling me that the circle is getting smaller as she's getting older. And that, to me, is a bright light. That's a great thing, because we want to surround ourselves with people who are happy for what we're doing, happy for us when something is going great. And when something is not going great in our life, we want to have somebody who is present and who just listens. You don't need to fix anything. Fixing is all about we have the solution. You are your problem and you are your solution. And some people can take offense to that. Like, what do you mean? My problem is, okay, well, those are the people who don't have the correct mindset. You are your problem and you are your solution. If you look back on your life, you're the only one who can fix things. You're the only one who can fix your mindset. You're the only one who can fix the elements in your life, the friends that maybe aren't serving you very well. Lord knows I have cut a lot of people out of my life in the past 10 years. And I kind of smile because it's a great thing. You know, when certain people bog you down, you can't fly. So you might be holding space for people that don't have your best interest in their heart. They're selfish. And you know, you have to ask yourself, is that who I want to be around? And forgiveness plays a huge part in this. And like I always say, forgiveness doesn't mean what the other person said or did is okay. It doesn't mean that. It means that my idea of forgiveness, it means that you hold no resentment in your heart for that person. When you hold resentment and contempt, which I feel contempt and resentment are brother and sister. I mean, they're just one and the same. When you hold those in your heart, you not only can't fly, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. You may be upset with somebody. You may be upset. You may have had an argument with somebody and you're sitting there reliving, dwelling on every little thing that just happened with that person. Maybe it's your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your aunt, your uncle, whoever it is, your best friend, whoever it is. You had an argument. You're going through all the things that they just did you wrong. They did you wrong, blah, blah, blah. Not looking at what you did, not personal accountability. That, Lord knows that's a hard pill for people to swallow. Be accountable for your own actions. It's the truth. But you might be sitting there dwelling over every little thing that person did. And, you know, they don't care what you're upset about. They could care less. You know, they're getting their new Amazon book or whatever they're getting, or, you know, whatever it is. And, which reminds me, my cousin Bobby Harrington's book. I know I'm off subject now. No, I don't have ADD, but this just popped into my head. I forgot to grab the book, but I have had it on here. And this is live, so I can't go grab it and come back. But it's Bobby Harrington, Lead You. My cousin wrote this book. It's extremely effective. All of it resonates with me. I will have it on my next, or I'll just do a video just on that book. But you'll see it on here on the wellness site, Bobby Harrington, Lead You. And this is a great book for if you want to improve your personal self or your professional self. So now I'm going to jump back to the resentment you may be having for people and not forgiving people. And all resentment does is bog you down. And it keeps you from it's a barrier. It keeps you from going where you need to go. And so I was talking about friendships and how I've cut many of them out of my life because they were detrimental to my mental health. They were detrimental to my relationship with my husband, as far as them talking bad about him. Now, I can say something, it's like, kind of like your brother or sister. You can say something not so nice about him, but if someone else did, you're like, rawr. So, you know, you have to decide who you want in your circle. And if they are, you're like a garden. Are they watering you? Are they tending to you? Are they taking care of your relationship? If the answer is no, you might want to reevaluate that relationship. So I'm going to close on that because I'm going too far in time, and I could probably sit here and talk for another 2 hours. Everybody who knows me knows that. It's just, that's how it is. So anyway, have a great day. My cousin Bobby's book, Bobby Harrington, Lead You, is available on Amazon.com. I highly encourage you, if you are someone who wants to improve themselves, and generally people watching this video are, to go pick up that book. And I have also taken a picture of it, and I've put it on this wellness site. For the YouTube people, if you're new to my YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And for those of you who've made it to the end of this today, if you like this video and it resonates with you, please hit the like button. It validates the work that I'm doing, and it keeps this wellness site going. The more feedback and just hitting simple like on it makes a big difference. So have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Remember my cousin Bobby Harrington, his book Lead You, on Amazon, available right now. So get that book. Take care.